you as an average American, the IRS is coming after you at a way, way higher rate than we ever thought it would. How do I know this? Let's watch a little TikTok video and then I'll see ya as we watch it.
You know that average taxpayers are audited by the IRS at a much, much higher rate than the super wealthy or big corporations. You know that, right? But the question is, why? Well, I got your answer, but I'm pretty sure you're not going to like it.
Was frankly because it was easier. Because they don't have the armies of lawyers. Their tax returns are easier to review. We didn't have the technology it took to be able to go after the wealthiest taxpayers.
That was the Deputy Secretary of the Treasury Department, Wally Adiamo. I asked him all about those significantly higher audit rates for average taxpayers and...
Okay, so now you guys heard it. So actually, they're coming after you normal folks. So now you're like, well, why? Why? So let's look at what is actually going on. So the IRS is looking to hire 3,700 employees. So and my understanding was always, hey, when the IRS is hiring people, they're going after big businesses, they're going after big wealthy corporations and the billionaires. Because frankly, your ROI on that as a business owner's perspective would be more, right? Let me know if you agree on that. Because if you are a small individual like myself making $100,000, and if I cheat on my taxes, I might get how much more? $1,000, $2,000 more? It isn't even worth actually for them to look into it, because making $2,000 more in taxes, how much effort did they invest? Did they invest a month worth of time of somebody making, also $100,000? So they were investing $10,000 for you to be like, those $2,000 you got to pay back, right? So now I'm looking at this statistic, the audit of your future, right? So check this out. So this is how they rate your audits. And I found a few different statistics that I've actually shown you right now, and they're all different. So depending on when and where you do it is super, super different. So kind of crazy to think that there's so many different statistics and different information out there, and all of them say different things, right? So now I'm looking at it, Sleepy Joe, or Joe Biden, actually increased the taxes on people making $400,000. And that really, really didn't impact the normal average American, right? And so I'm like, okay, making $400,000 a year isn't bad right now. So now let's check out why it should bother you. Because in the near future, you're going to be making $400,000, right? So if you have a salary of $30,000 today, and there are a lot of people that have that, at a 3% annual inflation and a 5% annual wage increase in 25 years, they're actually making six figures. So your job today making $30,000 in 25 years is a six-figure job. How crazy is that, right? So you're actually gonna make $100,000 in 25 years at the rate that it's going. It's actually way less than that, right? So now I was thinking, but Americans actually, have, they actually make more money than that, right? So let's look at somebody that's making $76,000. So it would take him about 22 years right now from 67,000 to 400 at the same annual percentage of inflation and annual wage increase. So now what I feel like is scope creeping, right? So they said, oh, it's not gonna, these huge tax brackets, these huge tax burdens isn't gonna affect you till you make 400,000. But what they didn't tell you, in 20 years, most people will make $400,000, right? Because right now, the average American is making 76,000. And in 22 years, they're all making 400,000. So that was a sneaky way for them to do that. And now I'm wondering, why go all there? Why have they done that? And I just come to the conclusion that they're just trying to squeeze every living penny out of us. So they're hiring more and more um, tax attorneys, or whatever you want to call, IRS employees. So now they're expanding at an alarming rate. And this was all good and great till I actually found out that they're actually auditing the normal Americans, right? They're actually doing the average Americans and not the wealthy corporations. And the Amazons, the Jeff Bezos, and all these people that actually have big, big money, and it actually is advantage for them to cheat. Because if they cheat on their taxes percentage-wise from me, so if I get a refund from $2,000, I make 100%, that is a small percentage, right? So now, that's like a 1 to 2%, right? $100,000, $2,000, it's 2%. But if Jeff Bezos with $500, $600, $700 million a year does 1 or 2%, it looks a lot differently. But Jeff Bezos also has an army of attorneys, and they will fight and they will cost the US taxpayers even more money. So now I'm like, we got this whole thing wrong. So in order for you to look at that and you're like, hey, this is really not right. And so I'm looking at it, it's like we are once again milking the middle class and the upper middle class, right? So we're taking these people that already are struggling, and now we're like, oh, you declared, your Venmo, the $500 in Venmo that's also needed to be declared now. So if you're not declaring that income, that little side hustle, we're coming after you. And that is a super wrong approach. I feel like as Americans, we're always like trying to catch these honest people that are actually trying, and we're never going after these people that have the money to spend on lawyers, because when there's lawyers involved, then there's trouble on the horizon because it's going to cost both parties, right? But Jeff Bezos has the money to do all that, right? So when you have, and it doesn't have to be Jeff Bezos, it can be people making $5-6 million a year, and they actually have the money. Then you watching this video, because you do not. So you do not have the money to fight the IRS with a lawyer. And to be honest, if they sent me a letter saying, oh, I gotta owe, some more money to him, I would probably not take him to court, because I cannot front the money to him, right? I cannot pay, I don't want to hire an attorney, and I just can't do it. But super wealthy people, percentage-wise, would probably do that because they got, they already paid retainers, they got tax people doing all these crazy things for them. So now I'm looking at it like the middle class is always the ones that are getting screwed. And so what do we do about it? It's like, this is what I'm always like kind of thinking, and has some philosophies, and not necessarily rants, but we need to take the power away from, take the power, not like do a recession, like do a purge or something like it, but we need to take the power back and say, this is going to the wrong directions, because we're not holding our leaders really accountable, right? They're doing things that are not in favor of Americans. They're helping out. They're when they're saying, we're going to go after these big corporations, and then these big corporations fund them millions of dollars of campaign money, all of a sudden, we're done. All of a sudden, you and I are going to have to pay because these big corporations spent their money rather than on taxes. They've spent it on lobbying, right? So you're never going to bite the hand that kind of feeds you. So it is what I think super, super sad, because we're just always getting screwed. I cannot think one thing that is working in our favor in the middle class. If you know one, let me know. And yeah, because it's not. You almost need to have your own lobby thing. It almost like we as Americans need to actually put all like $5 or $10 into lobbying for ourselves. We all kind of need to put it into a bucket where we say no to big corporations. But that won't happen because we don't have the money. So as we don't have the money to do that, the scissor between them not getting audited, they're going to have to take it from us. So that means that we're going to be getting even more audits. We're going to get robbed even more, while everybody else is actually not doing their thing, right? They can't be doing their things anymore. So they're not going to go out. They're not going to do whatever they wanted to with their money because it's just not feasible for them. So this is really, really sad. And once again, we took a big L. And I really thought that, I thought this would make bigger news than it did, the $400,000, because like right now you're thinking, oh, this isn't in any of near my future, right? But people years ago that it's affecting us now said the same thing. So at what point are we going to say, you know what, this stops here? We cannot increasing taxes for what? We're not getting nicer roads. We're not getting nicer, we're not getting better healthcare. We're not getting nicer transportation. No, we're not having any of these conversations, and we're not getting any of the benefits. And I don't even know what they're increasing taxes for. So when you look at it and seeing what it actually goes towards, who knows? They got these funds, like in California, they built this bridge for billions, and it hasn't done anything for them. They try to build this bridge. I have a picture right here that costed, I don't know how many billions. So it's just not well spent money. So I'd rather the government not have any money and not spend it on stupid stuff, but they actually are spending it on stupid stuff the more they have, right? Because one thing, when I was in the government, even in the military in Switzerland, they said, we need to use up each and every penny of the budget. And if we do not use up every penny of the government and every penny that we're allocated for, we cannot they'll deduct that next time because we didn't use it all up. So crazy times we're living in, crazy time. And yeah, it's just not looking good. So just one other thing that's not working in our best interest, right? So let me know what you guys think about this. I'm going to end the video here. I'm going to talk a little bit about Switzerland right now. So if you're just here for the info on the title, this is it. And now I'm actually in Switzerland, as you guys know. And this was my middle school that I'm walking in right now. So if you want to know a little bit about me and about where I grew up, keep watching. And if not, I'll see you in the next one. And I appreciate you so much. So like and subscribe. So this was actually my middle school. So it had this building, this one right there, but it wasn't that big yet. And it had this building right here that's super old, right? So I came here from 4th to 6th grade. And this was where it kind of shaped me. And this is where you can see my classroom. So I'm going to zoom around and I'll show you which classroom I was in. So I zoomed around kind of quick here. So this was the classroom. So I point right there. So I was right over that little awning right there. And what happened with that was, so when I grew up, this was 4th to 6th grade. So it took me like a few minutes to walk to. I had like a little shortcut. So it took me like 2 or so minutes to walk to. And the teacher here told me that, Rico, you always be a street, you should be a street sweeper. You shouldn't you're not going to equate to anything. And you're never going to do much with your life. So just, that's all right that you can't really write or spell too good. So don't worry about it. You'll be a street sweeper, and Switzerland needs those too. So, haha on him, because I didn't make something out of myself. And that's where I noticed that teachers are actually, depending on who you have and what you do with them, is actually really, really important. And good teachers are a dime a dozen. And shitty teachers aren't worth anything. Because good teachers would never say stupid shit like that. And then they expect you to grow up and, do stuff and, become a functional member of society, while they'll actually tell you, you'll never equate to anything, and you actually be an idiot. Fool on him that actually Switzerland was looking for street sweepers and all that, and they actually pay more than the teacher does. So haha. And yeah, that is one thing. So school was in Switzerland started at 7:30. So I had to be there. So I walked into the snow. I walked, it used to be snow here, and walked in the snow, walked into when it was raining, never saw the sun really, but it's been crazy, right? So walked to school all the time. So school started at about 7:30 and then ended at like 4 o'clock, had a lunch break for an hour, and that was pretty much it. Um, Ended at 5, went home, did a bunch of exercise, did a bunch of like sports and all that. But yeah, it wasn't a place where they like tell you, at least when I went to school, where I told you, hey, you should dream and do whatever you feel like, because you should dream and you should become who you want to become. They never said that. That I only noticed in the United States that they told me that. And that is why I love the US so much, because here they just tell you, your dad's a plumber, and so if you're a guy, you should be a plumber too. And if you're a woman and your mom's a secretary, you should probably become a secretary too. And I do not agree with that. And so when I moved to the United States, it wasn't permanent when I moved. They told me, you need to think outside the box. You need to achieve your dreams. You can do whatever you want to do. And that is so lacking here. And that's why my childhood here was great, but I wouldn't want to do it again. And I would say, you know what? Bye-bye and sayonara, and I'll see you later. And there's a lot of people that love it, but for me, I'm like, nah, you guys did me dirty. And then I left, and now they have one person like me less, and that's why I'm so happy in the United States. So here it used to rain year round, like in the year it was like wintertime was like 3 months straight. And yeah, and then I moved to Vegas now, happy as a clam, love it. And that's why I have such an appreciation for the United States, because they always treated me good. I've never had people tell me, oh, you're an idiot. In the schooling system, even the teachers were like, you got to set your mind to whatever you want to do, and then just achieve it. So I'm gonna take you guys to a little store that I used to grow up in, and I'll show you some stuff around at the store, and I'm gonna end this video. So okay, so you take the escalator down to a store named Cope. They have meats, they have a bunch of different products. It's just like a grocery store, like Albertsons, Publix, or Walmart. This is just more like a local kind of deal. They got a bunch of local kind of stuff. They got pizzas that you can pre-bake, that are already pre-baked. You just need to put them in the oven a little bit more. They got fresh meat, like delis, cheese section. They got all kinds of stuff already marinated for barbecues. Everything's kind of more on the local side here. And yeah, you can get anything you want.